Hello, and welcome back to Ask Mindful M. I am Mary O, an associate licensed marriage and family therapist, and welcome. This is a space to have questions asked and answered, and hopefully some takeaways that you can take with you into your week to come. And so let me jump in here. And so our question for today is, how do I rebuild trust again after heartbreak? So thinking about this feedback can apply to just how to heal and rebuild your trust and ability to feel confident to love again. However, that love does not necessarily have to be shared again with anyone who caused the breakage to begin with. So just keep that in mind. So we'll just walk through a few steps, right? So when you think about healing and rebuilding, one good thing is to really just face in terms of with that person, maybe who did cause the breakage. And in that process, it's a two-person process. So there's the one who did the betraying and the one who was betrayed. And so as we walk through these steps, I'm going to look at both perspectives, just to really understand that it is very much a dynamic process. And so let's see. Our first step is thinking about the acknowledgement and validation of hurt step. So thinking about the pain, acknowledging the pain that was caused. And as the one who was betrayed, just really being open and being very descriptive about what that felt like for you, the pain that and how it's affecting you, and just allowing that space for that to breathe. And just whether it's anger or sadness or whatever it may be. And on the receiving end, the one who did the betraying, being able to accept and embrace this without defensiveness or excuses. And as the one who was hurt, not accepting that. If there's when you put your vulnerability and hurt out there into that space, defensiveness and excuses have no place there. So just really holding firm to that vulnerability being the only thing in the space is going to be very important in the acknowledge and validate hurt part. And this might not be one sitting. This may be a few different iterations of a conversation. And this could be whether, hey, we decide to be together, we're going to talk about this, or it's like, hey, we need closure. We need to talk about this. So this can really apply to like either one of those situations. So after acknowledge and validate, then we talk about accountability and apology. So when it comes to rebuilding trust, this is very much a very genuine, as I mentioned, vulnerable process. So as the betrayer, that means being very non-defensive and offering a genuine apology to the partner that they betrayed, and fully owning their actions. And this could look like the one who was betrayed asking questions and those questions being answered fully and in full detail, right? As much as they need, and being very, very genuine and very open in that honesty process in conjunction with the apology. Just full accountability, very genuine, and accepting of what was done and the impact that it had on your partner is very important in the accountability and apology step. Next, we talk about establishing transparency. Secrecy fires up anxiety. The unknown is like the worst case scenario of any anxious spiral. So when you think about transparency, it's just really much integrating honesty into every fabric of communication, engagements, actions, to really just let it all be out there, let it all be known, because that's gonna leave no room for anything to be hidden or assumed because everything is just out there. And so this really is a radical thing, because when you think about two adults, you don't know every facet of your life. However, when it comes to this transparency piece, being very open about things that you maybe otherwise wouldn't be, if not for having been a hurt, and now it needs to be rebuilt again. And that makes the rebuilding hard. But definitely transparency is a big part of establishing that trust again. And whether that looks like passwords, phone access, whereabouts, to just rebuild not only just the honesty, but also the safety. Because one part of feeling hurt is like, whoa, I felt safe, I felt protected. And then all of a sudden now I've been exposed to this betrayal and I've been hurt. So rebuilding that safety net means being very honest about everything you have going on. And on the other side, holding the partner accountable to being open and honest about everything that's going on. Do not accept less because they seem resistant or whatever that looks like. As the one who was betrayed, it's very important that you hold firm to the boundaries of this process, because it's going to help altogether. But at the end of the day, you to be able to heal from what happened. So it's in your best interest to hold that partner accountable. And so connected to that is consistent behavior on both sides. Trust is not rebuilt in a week. It is rebuilt through months and months of consistent, reliable actions that show a change in character. And so that's, again, on both sides. The one who was betrayed, being very consistent in the behavior. When you see something that doesn't align with the few steps we talked about already, accountability, very much acknowledgement, very much honesty, transparency, be very clear about that and be very clear about what you expect. And then for the one who did the betraying, being very consistent that your behavior from here on out is what your character is going to be aligned with. So being very consistent in behavior on both sides is going to be important. Then vulnerability and emotional intimacy, which is after you've done all the other steps. At that point, it should feel more comfortable to do that. Because again, you started off this way, very vulnerable and very intimate and emotional, and that was broken in some way through actions and words, what have you. So this rebuilding of the connection is just thinking of just shared small positive experiences, whether it's we're both foodies, we love these restaurants, or maybe it's, hey, we like a good show, we love a good rewatch of Grey's Anatomy, or whatever that looks like. Rebuilding that vulnerable emotional connection through shared small positive experiences. Active listening, whether it's, hey, how was your day? You say that, but do you actually want to hear? Do you actually process? Do you ask questions about what comes out of your partner's mouth after you ask that? Being very engaged and active listening in a genuine way. And just sharing deeper thoughts. Like, hey, my day was okay. I was just thinking about, what my next 5 years looks like, right? It won't happen like that, but that's just an example of being very vulnerable and emotionally intimate. Involves being active and being a little bit past, going past that surface level conversations, and being very intentional about those micro positive experiences to just really rebuild that trust. And so if you walk through these and you say, hey, you know what, I'm still struggling, you can seek professional help, such as a licensed marriage family therapist. When maybe communication breaks down or the betrayal is just very deep, and it's going to take more of a systemic, directed approach that is hard to find in just everyday life. If having a more structured environment and supportive person in the room, that is definitely something that is an option if you feel stuck in just a cycle of anger, whether it's with your partner or just with yourself. And so a therapist can provide a safe space to facilitate just those difficult conversations, and just really help identify some of the underlying things going on there that may be outside of just the betrayal of itself. So thank you for listening. I hope that this was helpful to hear. And again, I'm Mary O, Associate Licensed Marriage Family Therapist. Um, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.